We the people. Simple, powerful words. Words which in fact form the opening phrase of our state and federal constitutions. We the people proclaims a government that looks to its people for its strength, vitality, and legitimacy. We the people is the foundation upon which we build all the freedoms and rights of our democratic society, including the right to a trial by an impartial jury of our peers. We the people are ordinary citizens, coming together as jurors from all walks of life. We honor our call to duty, often making personal sacrifices along the way. We gather as a jury, hoping for wisdom and striving for justice, recognizing that our decisions can change lives. We bring forth the best in ourselves, and we make a difference. For the next several minutes, we're going to cover how you were selected to serve, what you might experience while you're here, and importantly, what your jury service could mean to you, your fellow citizens, and the state of Washington. You've become a part of the jury process because your name was selected at random from voter registrations and driver's license and state identification records, and placed on a list of potential jurors. Your answers to our questionnaire determined your eligibility. You're probably beginning to feel the assorted pressures and emotions your jury service will place on you, your job, and family.
How long do you think this is going to take?
For some, it's simply a minor inconvenience.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm 8.5 months pregnant, and there's just...
For others, it's a bigger disruption. If you believe that serving as a juror will cause you a particular hardship, or if there is an accommodation that the court may provide to help you serve as a juror, please speak up during your orientation period or during the jury selection process. Don't wait until the trial is underway.
Now, are there any questions?
The first step in the jury selection process was choosing a panel of potential jurors as determined by the questionnaire. When you're chosen, you'll be directed to report, along with other potential jurors, to the courtroom, where the case will be heard. While in the courtroom, during all trial procedures, cell phones and other communication devices should be turned off. If you need to contact someone, the bailiff or clerk can assist you. The number of panel jurors sent to the courtroom may vary due to the circumstances of the case.
Please raise your right hand.
The panel will consist of more jurors than are ultimately needed for the case to assure that the selection process is fair. As a potential juror, you'll be asked to swear or affirm that you'll answer all questions truthfully.
Please be seated.
The judge will then tell you about the case and introduce the plaintiff and plaintiff's attorney,
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Robert Zarkos. I represent the state in this matter.
and the defendant and defendant attorney.
May it please the court, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Julian Duell. I represent the defendant, Hector Charles, who's sitting beside me at the council table.
Plaintiff and defendant are two words you'll hear a lot around here. The plaintiff is the party who begins the case by filing a complaint in court. The defendant is the party who is responding to that complaint. In a criminal case, for example, the plaintiff is the state, city, or county government, which begins the case by accusing the defendant of committing a crime. For this reason, you might hear the plaintiff in a criminal case referred to as the prosecution, the state, or a similar term. In a civil case, the plaintiff and defendant can be individuals, organizations, or governments. As a juror, you'll feel the slow, careful, deliberate movement of our judicial system. It's intended that way. The crucial decisions you will help to reach can have a lasting effect upon the parties. To be fair, these decisions cannot be made in haste. There will be times when you as jurors will be asked to wait for a while. Please understand that the judge and court staff are working hard to keep these delays to a minimum, both during your juror orientation and later during jury selection and the trial itself. A delay is often necessary for the judge to ensure that the parties receive a fair trial.
Okay. This is kosher.
All right.
By the same token, please be prompt in arriving at court each day. The trial can't proceed until all jurors are present. Whether you are assigned to a criminal or civil case, the process for selecting a jury is the same.
Ladies and gentlemen, have any of you ever been a victim of an assault?
The judge and the attorneys will then question you and other potential jurors to determine if you have any knowledge or personal interest in the case, or if you have recent or significant personal experiences that might make it difficult for you to separate the events on trial from your own experiences. This process is sometimes referred to as voir dire, meaning to speak the truth.
Members of the jury, have any of you ever been involved in a lawsuit?
Many of the questions you'll be
Have any of
asked
you
during
ever
your
been
jury selection may seem very personal,
Victim of domestic violence?
but you should answer them completely and
Have any
honestly.
of you ever been charged with a crime?
If you
or
have a
has
response
anyone
that would be
in your
difficult to
direct
say in a
family
room
been
full
charged
of
with a crime?
strangers, please raise your hand and let the judge know. Remember, the judge and the attorneys are not trying to embarrass you or unnecessarily invade your privacy. They're just trying to find out whether you or the other potential jurors have opinions or experiences that might prevent you from making an impartial decision.
As the questions were asked in these proceedings, has anything occurred to you that might affect your impartiality in connection with this proceeding?
It's important for the court to be aware of information about you that could affect your impartiality as a juror. If the questions from the judge and the attorneys missed something important, please speak up.
I worked at the same company that Hector worked at.
During this question and answer period, the attorneys may ask the judge to excuse you or other members of the panel. If this happens, don't take it personally. This is not intended as a reflection on you. This simply allows the parties and their attorneys to participate in the selection process. There are two ways for the attorneys to ask the judge to excuse a potential juror. They may use challenges for cause and peremptory challenges. In a challenge for cause, the attorney must state a specific reason for thinking that the juror would not or could not be impartial, while the peremptory challenge gives the attorney the right to excuse a juror without stating a specific reason. The number of peremptory challenges, unlike the challenges for cause, is limited. If you are excused from this trial, you may or may not be placed in another group of potential jurors for another trial. You and other potential jurors that weren't selected should report back to the jury assembly room person where you initially checked in.
Okay, let me scan your badge here, and then you're free to go. Just call the message after 5.
If you are placed in another group of potential jurors, you'll go through the jury selection process
Scan your badge, and
again.
you just call the message after 5.
Now let's say you've been chosen. Before and during the trial, you will need to shield yourself from information relating to the trial other than what you observe in the courtroom. For example, you will not be allowed to read newspaper stories about your trial or related topics. Nor will you be allowed to independently investigate or research any aspects of the case through the internet or otherwise. The judge will give you more information about
Do
this.
not permit anyone to comment or influence you on this case. It's important that you keep your mind free of extraneous influences so that you may decide the case.
The judge will also take other steps to protect you from outside influences. The judge will caution the parties and attorneys not to have any contact with you outside of the courtroom, so don't be surprised if they avoid you in the hallways during breaks. You should avoid them, too. Wear your juror badge to avoid inadvertent contact with someone who may not recognize you as a juror.
I noticed you're part of the jury. I don't know.
If a party, attorney, or witness does try to communicate with you outside of the trial, you should report this to the bailiff or other court staff who will inform the judge.
Would you like some lemonade?
Yeah.
Okay, you get the glasses, I'll get the lemonade.
Finally, your family, friends, and coworkers will not be allowed to talk with you about the trial until it's
How
over.
are you?
Good. So what do you do in court today?
Oh, I can't talk about it.
Why not?
Well, because it's a confidential
This may be
thing.
awkward for all concerned, but it is a crucial part of your
You guys
role
like
as a
something to
juror
eat?
and must be honored and understood by everyone involved in your life for this short period of time. whether it's a civil or criminal case, and whether you're in a municipal, district, or superior court, the procedures and the participants in the courtroom are basically the same.
And is the defense ready?
Besides the judge, the plaintiff, and the defendant and counsel, you'll see court staff such as a court clerk, and often a bailiff. Sometimes you'll see a court reporter transcribing the trial, or the trial may be recorded electronically. You may also see an interpreter assisting a party or witness in a case.
Ladies and gentlemen, the state has
At the beginning of the trial, the attorneys have an opportunity to present opening statements.
This evidence will include testimony by the doctor, testimony
Here
by
they'll
the
discuss their
defendant's
perspective and outline a general picture of what they expect the evidence to show.
X-ray of the broken arm.
Members of the jury, the state of Washington has charged Hector Charles with an assault. The
It's
evidence in
important
this
that
case
you not
shows
regard their statements as
that assault,
evidence.
Hector Charles was defending himself from a vicious assault by another person. That person was in possession of a baseball bat,
The attorneys are advocates, not witnesses.
attempted to defend himself, resulting in injuries to that person.
Evidence is presented during the next phase of the trial. Evidence might be a witness's testimony or physical exhibits. Attorneys may object to evidence or certain portions of it.
It objects to the admission of the two exhibits offered by the prosecutor.
The judge will decide whether the law allows the evidence to be used in the trial.
Does the state have a response?
While the judge decides the law that applies to the case, it's your job to weigh the importance of the evidence or testimony allowed by the judge.
Overruled.
How long have you known Hector Charles?
For example, you will determine the credibility of the
Were
witnesses.
you present on a day when an incident took place that Hector Charles is accused of assault?
I was.
To succeed at your job, you'll need to pay careful attention to each witness's
I
testimony.
was waiting in the car.
Did you see a
Your memory of the testimony will be absolutely critical when you deliberate on your verdict at the end of the trial.
came into some sort of conflict?
Well, she
You'll
was
be allowed to take
walking
notes
toward
during
me
the trial and to use your notes while you
was
deliberate on
walking
your
up to the
verdict.
building, but then they began talking from a distance, and then as they became closer, I saw that they were starting to get madder.
If you
and
do
then
take
she
notes,
threw
be
the
careful not to let it interfere with your ability to observe the manner and demeanor of the
began
witnesses.
yelling at him more.
You shouldn't share or discuss your notes with other jurors until you begin your deliberations at the end of the case.
The witness may be excused. Do you solemnly swear or affirm?
In
that the
any event,
testimony you are
as
about
each
to give
witness
is the truth, the
testifies,
whole truth,
you
and
need
nothing
to
but
assume that this will be your one and only opportunity to hear what the witness says and observe the witness's manner and demeanor.
Doctor, can I hand you Exhibit A?
Yes, thank you, Counselor.
Can you describe to me what that exhibit portrays?
Do not expect that any trial testimony can be repeated for you later.
This is an X-ray of a compound comminuted fracture of the left forearm.
So listen carefully during the trial and take notes if doing so will help you remember later. After all the evidence has been presented, the judge will instruct you on the law.
There's reality and there's truth.
In their
Truth is
closing
both
arguments, the attorneys will summarize the case from their point of view.
Testimony of the defendant's mother,
They'll discuss the evidence or lack of evidence and how the law applies.
That the defendant is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty.
The final step in the trial is your deliberation. In the jury room, you'll begin your work of sifting through all the evidence in the case. For obvious reasons, you are not allowed to have cell phones or other communication devices with you while you deliberate on a case. The court will help you if you need to contact someone while you are deliberating.
If we're going to be late, I may need to call my daycare.
The court can help you with that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's elect a presiding juror.
The first step in the deliberation process is electing a person to lead your discussion.
Thank you all for your vote of confidence.
This presiding juror can make sure you deal with the case in a sensible and orderly fashion, and that all jurors have a fair chance to discuss their views and ask questions. In the jury room, you'll have a copy of the judge's instructions on the law, along with other relevant documents and physical evidence. Everyone should understand and follow the judge's instructions. Please read them if you need to.
Yes, Nathan?
I heard there were some other photographs. Are those pictures going to be made available?
That's a really good question.
If an important
Nathan.
question comes up during your deliberation that you're unable to answer among yourselves, you may send a written question to the judge. If you do send a question to the judge, do not indicate in any way the results of your voting. This process may take some time because the attorneys will no longer be in the courtroom and the judge will need to consult with them before answering the question.
Your Honor, the state has no problem with the jury seeing those pictures. We believe they're relevant to the case at bar.
The defendant would object to the allowance of those photographs. They were denied by the court during the trial. To allow them at this time would be reversible error.
Okay, well, I'm going to deny it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Upon reaching a decision, you'll be asked to return to the courtroom.
Thank you. Please be seated. Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
The decision might be read by the judge, the clerk, or the presiding juror might be asked to announce the verdict.
Will the defendant please rise?
In the matter of the State of Washington versus Hector Charles, we, the jury, find the defendant, Hector Charles. Ready to go? I'm ready to go.
Good, let's get out of here.
Once the case is over, you will be excused from your jury service and will be free to discuss the case and your experience as a juror with family and friends. The attorneys and the media may contact you after the trial, but it is your option as to whether you speak to them or not. If you have questions, please pass them along to the people conducting this orientation, or to the bailiff or other court staff in the courtroom. The fact that you are willing to devote your time, your energy, and your concern to jury duty says a great deal about all of you. You care about your community, and your participation gives real meaning to the democratic concept of a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Thank you.